Hey guys, how's it going? If I upload this correctly, it should go up the week of Thanksgiving. Maybe you're busy with family being over and you just want a break. Maybe nobody's visited you for Thanksgiving and you just want a voice to be around. Maybe you just have a free day. You got an extra day off and you got nothing better to do. Whatever the case may be, I just wanted to upload this and, upload however long it's going to be of us just kind of talking and pulling and showing how to pull NASCAR data. The main reason being is because I've been asked more and more, over the years of how to do this and whatnot. And for the most part, I've already had people either make me scrapers or build stuff in R for me to run things automatically, so I don't have to do a lot of manual stuff anymore. Okay, but maybe you aren't familiar on how to pull stuff, or you're just curious on what goes into it. And I figured I would just kind of show people. The reason being is at this point, where we're at with DFS and stuff like that, I think the projections and sims are much more important than any individual data you can pull from a past race or whatever. Now, there are data points that are important, like running position, how people are performing during a race, pit data, and et cetera, and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think projections and simulations, if you have your own or if you're trusting the sites, I think that's really the bread and butter of DFS where I'm at. Yet again, this is just speaking for me personally as somebody who's done this, for 6 years at this point. Selling and being able to package in this type of data it's not redundant and it's not useless, but I don't think it holds the importance that it used to be. Like, when I started, it was important to educate and inform people on who's going to start in park now. Okay, or back then. Like now, 1, it doesn't matter. 2, you can do it on your own. 3, we don't have any starting parks anymore. Like, the development of DFS or NASCAR DFS rather, is changing and stuff like that. And so what I just want to do here is just talk about, hey, maybe you want to pull stuff, maybe you're curious, and I just wanted to show you. So let's go ahead and start like breaking stuff down. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the way NASCAR does its stuff, and now they've redesigned their website where we're going to have to test and see once we get deep in the year if it works better. I already like it a bit more. It seems to run a bit better just right off the bat, but that's still yet to be determined. Now, the first thing that is important, so maybe you know how to build a scraper, or you know how to work with dedupes and node and what are they called? Just went blank all of a sudden. But maybe you already know how to do that, and you're just looking for like the JSON file. You're just looking for the live data feed. This is the live data feed that is used by NASCAR. So whenever I pull my stuff, I'm just pulling it from a live data feed. So if we're talking about pulling live practice data, this is the feed that you can use. You can also manually always find these. Now, yet again, all I did here, starting from scratch, okay, home of NASCAR, and like NASCAR.com home, all right, whatever. You go to results, and you can do this, leading up to the week or, after the week happened. We use the Phoenix race, the championship race here, for example. All you can do is you can hit F12, and it'll bring up, everything on the side. Just Control F and then type JSON. It'll bring you to all these links here. So these are the URLs for all of the JSON files that you may be looking for or that you might need. So yet again, going back, maybe you've gone to college and you understand how to work with JSON files and stuff, or you are at least familiar with coding or whatever the case may be. Okay, if you're just looking for the JSON files, here they are. Maybe you aren't familiar with any of that, and let's assume you aren't. We'll try and go through it at like, the easiest level. Okay. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. We might be here for a long time, but this is everything that might be important. And so you're going to notice that just quickly at the bottom, you see that we've highlighted season 2024, race ID is 5,428, series is 1. Okay, now in the past, you would see the series would have a W for Winston, the Xfinity series had a B for Busch, and Camper World Truck Series had a C for Craftsman. Okay, that was what they used to be at. Now they've updated the the data points here. If you look at the, let's just say for example, we'll get the we'll do lap times. We use that as like the first example, right? If I can get that. Okay, so You notice when we look here, I'm going to put, just so we know what we're looking for here, and we are going to do that. We'll bump this up so you guys can see it. So you see that, we're looking at year 2024, number one being the Cup Series. This race here is the Phoenix race. Okay, so if we go back and just quickly go back to the Xfinity Series race here, we'll type in, we'll just highlight this so we know what we're looking for in case you guys have never seen this. So this is like Phoenix, for example. If this is Phoenix lap times, we'll look at how it looks when it's like Martinsville lap times. Okay, and then again, this might be all over the place, but either way, I just want to show people. Now, I have shown this to people over the season. Hello. All right, so here we are. We'll get the lap times from here, and you'll notice that the Martinsville lap times. Actually, hold on. Also, you can see why I have just, at this point, I'm like, dude, can you guys just please make me stuff so I don't got to go through all this? If you look at Martinsville, you see the only thing that's changed is the event number, okay? So if you continue to go back, if we work back from Phoenix, Martinsville, Las Vegas, Homestead, or I guess it was Homestead first, then Vegas. Anyway, going back, you'll see that the only thing that changes is the number of the events. So everything else is usually the same. So say you manually have to set up whatever data point you're using to pull stuff, and you're not using the live feed, the live JSON feed, you can just manually go ahead and go in and update the link for everything. Okay, so like if you look at what it looks like here, we'll show like the differences really fast. If we look at Xfinity, and we will go to this race here. We'll get the lap times here. So if you look at, yet again, same thing. Now, yet again, there's less races for Xfinity, and typically all I do is I just check to see what it is at the start of the year, but this is like lap times Phoenix, and you will see that the thing that has changed here, and again, maybe you haven't pulled this in a while, you'll notice that we no longer have, as I said, we no longer have the B for Busch Series, we just have 2, so the series is 2, event for the Xfinity Series is this event, and then, this is Phoenix, and then if you look at the race for the Truck Series, the only thing that changes on these, again, we can find them all here. And sorry if this is very slow and dry, but I just want to walk through everything. So this would be lap times for Phoenix trucks. You're going to notice that the thing that changes here is, yet again, we're still 2024-3 for the third series, and then 54-84 for that. And typically, if I'm not wrong, now yet again, I haven't checked this in a while, but as we're doing it, you can see. I'm pretty sure the event times changed by 3. And well, let's just take a quick look. So like, this one was 54-84. Okay, the truck race at Martinsville. So that one was 54-84. This one was 54-75. So I do believe that everything follows off of the truck series or off of the Xfinity series. We can just always pay attention to whatever these are at. I'm pretty sure the Cup Series just goes down by 1. So this one is 54-27. Homestead is 54-26. Las Vegas for the Cup Series should be 25, so it's 54-25. So the Cup Series does fall the one digit. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember exactly right off the top of my head of what The Xfinity Series follows, so let's go ahead and just grab that really fast. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look, and I'll show you how to deal with these or use these JSON files in a second. So this one, and again, we already looked at it. This was 5461. This one is 5460. Homestead was, let's see if it's 5459. 5459. So this one does also follow the, what is it? So this would be 58. Okay, so this one follows. So what is, we gotta find a truck series one. All right, so let's just take a quick look here. So mainly because this is the one thing I hadn't checked before, so I apologize that we're here. Truck series 5484. 5475. 5483. So the trucks are just going nuclear. They're doing whatever the heck they're doing over here. This is 5482. So, you know, we at least know that the Cup Series and Xfinity are going sequential. We're not exactly sure what the truck series are following here. I believe ARCA is also a part of their stuff if you are interested in pulling that as well. I don't know why you would be. 5480, yeah. Anyway, all right, so we're here. Let's go back and find results for the Cup Series. We'll go back to Phoenix. Okay, so everything we can find, or everything you can use everything you use can be found just on the web page. You don't need an API. You don't need any of that stuff. You can just get them all from here. And so when we look at the race URL, this is just the live feed for the weekend, which I just bypassed by using just the live feed in general, so we don't have to deal with the numbers or anything. I just run the live feed and then pull stuff every week. We look at the live points, which is important to us. We look at the live race feed, which we don't really need. I already have that in the feed when I pull stuff, and it's not really necessarily important to show anything here. The key moments is just notes that NASCAR takes. If you take a gander and look at these NASCAR notes here, the timeline, these will just be the notes that are involved or the notes that they write down. So in case you want to have this important stuff down, or if you want to have that, or say you want, whatever notes that NASCAR leaves, you will find those there. I'm not really huge on driver recap. If we look at lap averages, this is just the lap times are the race. Lap averages are practice laps. So yet again, when we're looking at the JSON files here, maybe you already know how to pull these from different places. Maybe you don't. Now there's numerous websites that you can use to pull this data and get it out. The site that I have used for several years that Pierce showed me a long time ago is data.page. You can just insert the data point in here and it'll give you a CSV file for whatever you're using. So I went ahead and clicked on the lap averages. That is just the lap averages that are used on the NASCAR website. So maybe you don't like how this is presented, or you want it in your own document. You can get it from there, and you can go to data.page. You don't have to pay for anything. It will limit you if you do, a certain amount per day or within a week or whatever. You can just go in an incognito tab or clear the cookies, and you don't have to sign up you don't have to pay for this site. It's free. And you can download this, and you can go ahead. Let me go ahead, because I don't know what's going to pop up, man. I don't know what's going to pop up. I just want to make sure. Let me just hit import. Let me just make sure. Okay, cool. Nothing crazy is going to go on. Nothing crazy popping up here. So you can go, yet again, I just made one for example. You get to import. Now, yet again, I don't use Google, I don't use Excel because I just hate myself. So all these examples will be in Google Sheets. Now, this is what the data comes in as. Okay, now, if you notice on my videos and stuff, I have or I already have things to convert this into a way that I prefer looking at it. Okay, at this point, if you're starting from scratch, you might not have that. So at that point, you need to kind of educate yourself on what exactly you want to do. You can do a variety of things at this point. Now, yet again, say we're starting from scratch and you know nothing about this at all. We can just go ahead and delete this. Now, yet again, this is assuming that you're just starting from scratch. I'm not going to give any of my sheets away that I use or things that I've had people make me for. Like, I mean, I'm not just going to give anything away in that regard, but I'm trying to walk you through of how you go about this, you know, from like the beginning or whatever. Okay. And so really what we need here, like we don't care about the item. We don't care about the sponsorships. We don't care about the cars, like whatever, right? At this point, I mean, this is pretty much the data points that you need. Now you can go ahead and make sheets or make things to pull away from all these things that we don't want. Okay. I mean, we don't need the consecutive laps for people who did not go that far, you know. So you can go ahead and build things that'll automatically pull this stuff away, et cetera, et cetera. But we have the data here pretty much. And yet again, walking you through, we're just looking at the like practice data, for example. Like this is the practice data from practice. And we can kind of go ahead and show you how to at least make this somewhat pretty if you're just starting from scratch. And yet again, you might be like, well, this is kind of time consuming. This is like, why would I be doing this? And that is the main reason why, you know, numerous people have packages into their sheets or their packages and stuff. And yet, this is not a video attacking like that type of stuff. I'm just speaking out loud of what I would do if I was starting from scratch or whatever. Okay, and so like when we're looking at, you know, best lap time of five laps. So we have the 5, you know, we have 5, we have 10, we have 15. I just want to color coordinate this stuff so I can visibly see what I'm kind of dicking around with here so we can view things. So now at this point, you know, you can isolate stuff by however you want. You can, you know, really do whatever, right? Ooh, whoops, not that. So like maybe you're starting off and this is what we're looking at here. Maybe you want to use this as the, you know, column that you want to use. Like we're looking at, and or maybe the driver and stuff. But you want to see like, okay, where are these guys at? Like where's Blaney at in terms of overall average? You know, the best lap that he had in this practice, and then you want to be like, okay, where is he at on like, you know, 10 consecutive laps or whatever. And then, yet again, this is just, you know, maybe you like how this is, or maybe you want this data to yourself. This is all we're doing here. This is all we're messing with, you know. Hey, maybe I want to see who is the best in, actually, let me, we can freeze this one too. Maybe you want to see where people are at in, you know, 10 consecutive lap rankings and so on and so forth. It's like this is, you know, the starting point of where you would be at if you want to collect this data point, or maybe you want to throw it in your own thing, or maybe you just want it or whatever. That's how you can do. Let me close my blinds really fast. I'm being blinded by the light over here. Okay, so that's lap averages. So yet again, if you want the laps individually of like each individual driver, you have to be pulling that during the live practice. There is no other way to retroactively go back and grab that from any of the data points that NASCAR may offer here. We're not able to do that from practice. So you're either pulling the practice laps live at the time if you have a scraper or whatever, or you're just having to use by default the consecutive laps and stuff like that. And so if you notice, this is a lot of what TV uses, and I guess the easier, you know, practice data to look at there. What am I getting called for? Dude, anybody, you know, a guy from Milton, Florida trying to call me right now? Like, why am I getting spam calls from Florida? So like that, you know, that's like, you know, kind of the first starting point. So we'll go ahead and delete that. Okay. Secondly, probably the more important thing that people want to look at is, Brandon, how do you pull the lap by lap data? Okay. Now, the reason why I think lap by lap data is probably the most important data point in NASCAR DFS or NASCAR in general. Okay, now we can argue, and we might have a discussion here about what is more accurate, what is more usable, and so on and so forth. Before we get to that, I want to show you really fast the other data points or other things you might want to look at or might use or whatever for your NASCAR research and stuff, and why some things are good, some things are bad, et cetera, et cetera. Yet again, this is just me speaking as Brandon Cruz, not TrueDFS, not business related. This is just me talking on my own about stuff, okay? So now, driver averages, you can find a lot of things here. I'm not really a big fan of this because it doesn't really give me anything that I need other than like some quick, maybe I need to pull like some data point, we'll just keep using Phoenix as an example, right? Maybe I need, for whatever reason, a driver rating or like something, maybe if I was to build like a sheet in the background that had like starting and finishing positions for each driver, and maybe I just wanted to like manually goof around and like take stuff from that. I guess I could go ahead and use driver averages to go ahead and have that automatically here. But I typically don't really see a need for this type of data set, but you can use that. And driver averages makes it very easy for you to copy and paste or pull stuff or whatever you might like. Yet again, I use averages more so based on recent form of whatever year it is, combined with certain tracks. So like I'm not just always looking at, the track history of some individual guy at some individual track. I just like to compile where people are at this year. If you've watched any of the live shows, you know how I sort people just based on kind of where they were in that race, and that's me, giving percentages to, or giving a percentage of that ranking. Just when I just have the names on the screen, that is me pulling the lap by lap data, giving certain percentages to certain positions, or if they're getting fast laps and laps led, especially if they're getting fast laps deep in the pack, or if they're not one of the top three, actually separated, not deep in the pack, but if they're not one of the top three drivers and they're getting fast laps, typically that makes them look better in my stuff. Now, yet again, everybody has their own thing. Nearly everybody at some point will have, their, not even projected, but like their real rating. I think that's what Pierce uses. I think that's what Win the Race uses at times. And other sites will, weigh some things higher than others just because driver rating is not very efficient. The reason being, let's go ahead and try and find that really fast. So if you look up what driver rating is, now yet again, this is driver averages pulling from a NASCAR.com excerpt explaining how everything is calculated, the primary statistics and stuff like that. Now, it can be useful, but you have to understand what's going into it, what is being rated higher than other things, okay? And so when you look at sites, whether it's me or other people doing it, what we're trying to do is find something that's more reliable than the generic driver rating that NASCAR provides, okay? Now, yet again, you can read on the screen. I don't have to read stuff to you. There's certain drawbacks for how everything is being used and whatnot. Okay, but the footnotes and the major important things that I like and don't like about driver rating is that, and there's some things that are contradicting depending on what definition of driver rating you're looking at. Okay, but what I like the most, what I like about driver rating is it's taking your finish, your average running position, average speed, and fastest lap. I think that's good, okay? Now, once we get past that, we then run into a situation of we start overvaluing certain statistics. Now, I haven't looked at this in a while. I'm just kind of eyeballing it right here because I've had this conversation with other people. So if I misspeak or you see something on the screen, that might be why. But we then look at what else is being used in driver rating. It then, in my opinion, overvalues and overinflates. If we go back and look at like this, for example, if you run up front, and stages aren't included in driver rating, I'm just saying, in current NASCAR, if you run up front and finish well in stages and lead and get fast laps and stuff, it's going to drastically and accurately rank the front runners way better than the rest of the people in the field. If you notice how close the driver rating is between like the people who are finishing mid-pack, the people at the bottom of the field or whatever, and then the real standouts and the way you get like a good driver rating is by being a fast car or whatever, right? Like the faster guys have much better driver ratings, and there's more separation between this statistic at the upper positions of driver rating than there are in the middle of the pack and whatnot. And the reason being is because, oh my god, get this off my screen. Driver rating is then like kind of overvaluing people running up front because it gives more points if you win, more points for a top 15 finish, lead most laps, lead lap finish, okay? Average running position better than 10, 6, and 2, okay? So this is kind of redundant. I don't exactly know why we have to practically, count. Like say you're running 5th all day, right? Or at a certain percent, you're then being given points because your average position is better than 10th and it's better than 6. Okay, so it's double counting, running up front and stuff like that. It also overvalues people who finish on the lead lap. Okay, so if your driver does not finish on the lead lap, well, then your driver rating is punished and stuff like that. I also believe that if you aren't on the lead lap, let me see if I can find this really fast. Yeah, so, like, the footnotes, average running position while on the lead lap and under a green flag. So if you're a lap down, you're not being calculated into this as accurately as things can be, or as accurately as you could, okay? So that's a quick note of why I'm personally not a big fan of driver rating. I think that's a bad statistic to rely everything on. Now, for up front, sure, why not? If we're looking at like top 5 guys, we need to separate, who is better, whatever, fine, whatever. But, DFS and NASCAR DFS specifically, like the money, lineups, things of that nature are made on like the drivers that are like B tier, C tier, D tier equipment. Like, hey, who's the value guy between these idiots in the 6K range, Who's been better recently? Between the guys from like 75 to 89, who's been better recently and stuff like that. TV's showing us the top portion of the race or the top running positions in these races, right? We don't need to really worry about that. I'm concerned, or I want to know, like, hey, who was better between, like, I don't know, like 16th to like 23rd? Like, what really separated those guys, And so a lot of people, myself included, have tried, and I think we've all kind of gone in our kind of own ways. Not that one's better than the other, but we've all kind of, looked at statistics or valued things more so than other people or whatever. And this is what we're trying to, like, nail or whatever. That was a quick rant about driver rating. So you can use driver averages if you want stuff. Everybody knows race and reference. I think race and reference is a very easy to read place, very quick to get to, very easy. Like, you could use it for like, maybe you're 12 or whatever, and you're reading some like report in school about, Dale Earnhardt or whatever. You need data points super fast, or you're like, Black Lives Matter, and you're like, okay, how can I plagiarize an entire video really fast? Race and reference is good for that. Or if you need to look back at last year, like, hey, where do people run at, the World 600 when Larson was gone? Like, what happened here? I know we ended under rain, but let's just see where people finished and where everything was. Like, race and reference is good for that. Now, despite the fact everybody, other than Drew, we'll talk about that shortly. Yet again, just speaking for me, very quickly, not coming with any anger or attack, just speaking out loud here. Win the Race has some pretty good statistics and things I like to look at. Nice. I always like to look at like AI art. Now, I do not have an account with Win the Race. We need to... I forgot we got a dead link here. Hold on. Dead link? Question mark? Yeah. I think I tried this earlier. Okay, so what I use Win the Race for is if I need to... Now, I don't really look at any of... I don't pull this stuff into my things, but say if I need to quickly pull, or not even pull, if I need to look at NASCAR's data points, which I which I don't really use much. Sorry about that. But Stevens and all the other guys here do a really good job at putting all of NASCAR's data points together, and they're very fast at uploading them, way faster than other websites that I have found. So, like, say, for example, like, yet again, I'm not, like, I don't use closers, right? Like, NASCAR makes up a lot of statistics that, like, I have no value in. Like, what the fuck is this even? Good for Jimmy Johnson being rated the best closer, I guess. Like, I don't know what that adds to anything. But if I want any of the PDFs, or if I just want to see what NASCAR is looking like, what the fuck is this even? Fastest drivers in an early run? Like, I can just do this on my own. I can look at the lap by lap data on my own. If we need, or if you are one of the individuals who like to look at this stuff or use it, When the Race is a good place to find all that. It's free. It's located. It's very easy to find, and so on and so forth. Now, yet again, the pit stop data is, 4-tire rank against the field, which you can pull yourself from the pit data, which is right here, which is probably the hardest data point to pull and mess with that. And we'll talk about that once we get like the lap times and stuff like that. So maybe you want time saved there. True performance ranks. Now, yet again, as I said, nearly every person out there is trying to find a much more accurate driver rate and stuff like that, and so on and so forth and stuff. So I use Win the Race if I just want to look at the loop data from NASCAR very quickly. I mean, I don't have a subscription to them, so I don't need it. I don't need, like, for me personally, this doesn't do anything for me. And then just very quickly, like Ryan, very happy that Twitter just allows you to see people who've blocked you. We've changed it. Hold on, dude. I had Ryan Stevens. Give me a minute. I had to go find him really fast. I mean, he's had me blocked forever, so it's usually really, really hard for me to look at this stuff. Before Twitter just let you look at people who had blocked you, I just never looked at Ryan stuff because over things that I don't think he should be blocking people over. Right? I didn't like the true performance. I didn't like his true performance rankings. I thought it could be better. He got mad and blocked me. Following that, everybody at Win the Race blocked me. So like, crazy, right? I've never even interacted with Greg. Joe, big respect. I like Joe. Joe and what he brings with Speed Geeks and stuff. I think Joe Schroeder is another great individual who knows what he's doing with data points and pulling data and saving you time and stuff like that. Like, I like Joe a lot. And he's never done anything bad to me. And I think he's a fantastic player. I don't even know who James Wood is, but guess what? Blocked again. So like, a lot of the Win the Race guys do not like me, for what it's worth. But yet again, I'm not trashing on the site, nor am I coming at this in any form or fashion. I'm just saying where you can find data points, or if you want to look at stuff. iFantasy Race, Ryan is another guy that uploads data that I use now. He uses what he calls, the in-race X-ray, which can be good and bad for certain things. And I'm bringing this up because I commented this earlier in September about the issues of potentially using certain laps. And yet again, like this data point's hard to put together anyway. I mean, this doesn't come from a way of negativity and whatnot. Maybe you find pulling your own data is very, very difficult, and you want to use Ryan's or any other person's stuff. You can go there, because iFantasy Race, I forgot if he has a lot of the stuff under, like he does total speed ranking, total speed index, like same thing here, kind of the same thing like anybody talks about. And another thing that Ryan from iFantasy Race does is that if you want like speed rankings for any individual track, you can go back and you can very quickly see where these guys are. Now this is Atlanta, doesn't really matter here. But yet again, if I want to see, some speed ranking just very quickly for some race like several years ago, I'll go to iFantasy Race because he has everything up here that you can very easily find. Okay, so now that that's established, right? The places that I would go that I still use to look at data and stuff if I'm like too lazy to do something on my own and or just want to use, or where I go to and stuff. We can look now at lap times. So lap times is the, oh my lord here. So this is the Cup Series lap times for Phoenix, the championship race here. Okay, so let's go ahead and X out of all this stuff so I can clear my tabs. So yet again, we're going back to data.page. But this is the big thing that everybody wants. Everybody wants the lap by lap data for an individual race. Now, if you just put that JSON file in here, this is the data, pretty ugly, right? Can't really do anything there. Maybe not a code, and you want the pretty print, because I know some people work with this easier, and you want that here. Well, here's all this data, so maybe you don't feel like you have to get a CSV file. You know what you're doing from coding or whatever. You have something set up, you can just pull it from here. I do not have that. I already have everything set up. But say you want this data, okay? You're starting from scratch. You're like, Brandon, I want the lap by lap data. I don't give a shit how ugly it is. I don't care how much it is to deal with whatever it is. Like this is, do we download it? All right, so that is result 44. Okay, so go back here. We can do this. Say we got result 44. Thank God it's not rule 34. Replace current sheet, and bam. So this is the lap by lap data that you can get off of NASCAR stuff, and you're gonna notice that it's a lot. It's a lot of data points. Okay, a lot of things going on here. Okay. This might seem overwhelming for somebody. You might not know how to deal with this for whatever extended period of time. And you're like, Brandon, how the hell do you get this to work? Now, yet again, I've already had people make me sheets where I can just load this in and it'll automatically like set up what I'm looking for, et cetera, et cetera. Let's say let's say you don't have that, okay? And we're working from scratch, okay? Now, if you look at the top here, we see that we have this is the number, so lap's number is the 22 car. Lap full name is Logano. Manufacturer Ford. Running position, okay? Or laps. What is this one here? I have not had to look at this in a while. Oh, right. This is laps running position should be where they finished, if I'm not mistaken. Laps is not important here. We don't need that data point. This is the lap number, so start of the race, lap 1, lap 2, lap 3, lap 4, etc. Okay, we look at lap time. Race hasn't started yet. Okay, we don't need that. This is the lap time of the race, so lap number 1, Joey Logano runs at 28.181. Okay, coming out of turn 2, or taking lap number 2. Ty Gibbs hits the fucking fence out of 4 and dies in turn 1. Okay, so we get, yellow flag comes out. Logano comes back around, finishing the second lap. He's at 41 seconds. Under yellow, 70 seconds, 73 seconds, 74, 74, or 75. These are the lap times here, okay? This is the average speed, okay? So lap number 1, 127.746. Yet again, yellow coming out, so he's had to slow down second half of the lap. 87 miles an hour, 50, 48, 47, 48, 47, 46, 50. Back to green flag, 129, 130, 129. Okay, we look at running position. So this is the running position for every individual lap. So not only do you get, hey, lap 6, we'll just use lap 1 since there's a yellow at the start of this race. Lap 1, lap time, average speed, running position, lap flags counted, or laps complete, okay? And lap state is 8 is race hasn't started yet. 1 is green, 2 is yellow, okay? So if we keep going down, yellow, green, 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 yellow, green, 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 okay, so on and so forth. So that's what we're looking at here, right? Okay, now, yet again, once you make something or you define whatever data point you want to use at this point, okay, and or maybe you're just new and you just want to figure out things are. Now, instead of me, just for this example, now you would do this with all the data points, right? And the main thing here is if you're going to use a pivot table, which we will use here, you have to fill in the name, okay? You're going to see what I'm saying here. So let me go ahead and what I'm going to do, because since we have 312 laps for every individual driver here, and so we have 18,000 rows of data point, what I'm going to do really fast is I'm just going to go ahead and remove laps 10 and below for 4 drivers. So we can very easily and very quickly see what you can use this data for, how you can make a pivot table, and so on and so forth. So if I pause the video, that's what I'm doing here. So I'll be right back shortly. It'll be instantly for you, but give me time to work this really fast. Okay, so the reason I've repaused is I'm just showing what we're doing here, because in case we're starting from scratch, the laps completed in green flag state are only for the guy who wins the race. Okay, but as you can see, I now have laps 1 through 9 for Logano, 1 through 9 for Blaney, 1 through 9 for Byron, and we'll use 1 through 9 for Larson. As you can see, yet again, I still have all this data left, so what you have to do is make a sheet or code something, and as you can see, Ty Gibbs completed 1 lap. He didn't complete the second lap, so it doesn't count. He just completed 1 lap. He finished last. If you go back, it'll be everybody. So this is Zane Smith who wrecked out. This is all these other people who finished here. Jeb Burton in this car. And you can see how slow these guys are. Anyway, okay, so you'll have to make your own thing to clear this out or do whatever you want for that. What I'm going to do here is moving forward is I'm going to go ahead and move this into a separate sheet to show how to go about this stuff, just so we're not taking a lot of data at once, and it's very easy to see what I'm doing here with this data point. Okay, so now, yet again, we have 2 data points we can use. We can use actually 3: running position, lap time, and speed. Okay, now for the most part, I just like to look at the lap by lap running position. Okay, I think that tells a lot of the story. I think you can use that data point and work off a lot of things just from that alone. Maybe you want to look at where somebody was in terms of speed. Okay, maybe you want to see their average, or you want to see their speed in average mile per hour and stuff like that. That's fine too. I typically just like to look at the lap by lap and the running position of where these guys are at, which is this one. I'm actually just a moron. This is just the lap. I'm a moron. But we see that Logano was in second this whole time. We see that Blaney started 17th, went to 14th. We see that William Byron started 8th, then he's in 5th, 4th, fell to 6th, so on and so forth. And so what I'm just going to use here is we are going to be removing the things that we don't need. Okay, so we don't need these here. Okay, so we're just, oops. I want to work with these things here. Okay, so now we just have 3 rows of data, which is the name, the lap they are on, and the running position they are on. Now, in order to use a pivot table, we need everything. Like if we're running this, right? Like if we're running, ideally what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert then a pivot table, right? But we need full name, which, okay, it's run already. We need columns, which will be the lap, and then we need value, which is running position. Okay, so we see issues right off the bat, right? So shit ain't working out here. So the reason I'm doing this is because we need a full data set on these guys here. And so we can just fill this in. Now, yet again, you can do something, or you can make something to do this automatically. I'm just doing it manually here to show you what we're working with. Okay, and we look at Kyle here, and the reason why the last one was kind of janky, how many do we need here for Kyle? Last one was janky because we didn't have all the data sets filled here. Okay, and you could make it easier, so you could be like, all right, here's full name, here's the lap, and here is the running position by the driver, right? Okay, so you just highlight those. You would then insert the pivot table. We're going to go there. We're going to do rows with full name, as we want the name on the left side. We want the column to be the lap, so we have the lap up here, and we have value as the running position. So this will fill up here. And then what you can do is, like, yet again, because we're starting from scratch here, okay, we're not using the sum, we're not using grand total, we're not doing any of that stuff, okay? Yet again, I would advise you to make your own thing. This is just showing you where you're at right here. We're running, actually, let me do the last one here so we can have the, okay, yeah, just making sure. I haven't had to do this from scratch in years. I'm trying to make sure I can say it. So we can be like these here are the laps, okay? These here are the drivers, clearly. Okay, and then so we can look here, and this is, basically the starting point of, the lap by lap, or this is what lap by lap data, this would be the best way to look at it, in terms of what I do is I line up the drivers, and yet again, so like this is lap 9, right? We're under yellow, but if we go all the way, we'd be on like lap 312, and you can just, what are we doing? We're freezing row 1. We're going to freeze column A here. Freeze column A. And so you can sort by, hey, how did this race end or whatever. And yet again, it didn't end on lap 9, but at this point, because I'm only pulling, I don't have the pull set or anything, by the running position, Logano's in 2nd, Larson's in 5th, Byron's in 6th, Blaney's in 14th, okay? And you can see where these guys have progressed throughout a race. And so you can either look at everything by, a driver's, like you can, what is it? You can conditional form, actually, probably be easier to like conditional format the scale of, we'd want it backwards. And so like, when you're working with, here actually, yet again, you wouldn't have to do this. You wouldn't have to do this every time. It would just be, when you're setting this up or whatever. Like I'm assuming you know how to do this. Maybe you don't. That's why I'm like walking through everything. So we can add another rule here. We can add that. We can add that here. And yet again, since we're just using 9 laps, it's not being overwhelming. But when you do the pivot table, you would have all of the 312 laps on the top, and then all of the, the 40 guys in here. So you'd be down here with data points. You could see where everybody was running at and stuff right here. And so you could very easily see, okay, hey, Logano was a good play. He stayed up front. He stayed, up there all day. And you can see how people go in, or you can see where people like ebb and flow throughout a race or whatever, right? The reason I like using this data point or this type of, pivot table and stuff, because 1, it's visually easy to see. 2, it's very easy to go second and tertiary options and have things set up to be, hey, what percentage of laps in the top 5 running positions did somebody run? What percentage of laps did somebody run in the top 10, in the top 15, in the top 20, top 25, top 30? You can very easily build off of the pivot table from that sense as well. You can also, since we have, data points from NASCAR, not only do you have, because we pulled this big ass feed of what lap times they ran, you can then do the same thing with the lap times, okay? And you can look through and see, okay, so-and-so had a fast lap, this lap, this lap, this lap, this lap, and you can see where all the fast laps come from. You can then see, say we have a race that has a lot of green flag pit stops or whatever, or somebody short pits, or somebody goes from there. You can use the pivot table to then see, hey, not only, yet again, it would be a race with, a ton of laps or whatever, but you can see like, hey, man, these people pitted on like lap 84. This individual pit on lap 76. You can see how they progress through the field, and then you could also, counter it with, okay, what were their lap times compared to other people? Why was he the fastest car? So on and so forth. And so, like, I think this data point, the lap times URL from NASCAR, is the most important data point that you could possibly have, from NASCAR. Now, yet again, you can pull the pit lane data, which I'm not going to do here because that's a whole different thing. If you like, if we're going over like how to build a pivot table, the pit data is like learning Mandarin for you. That type of stuff. Like find somebody who is pulling that stuff that you trust or whatever. And or a lot of it comes, at least for me, I focus a lot more on the pit selection of the drivers instead of the actual like lap or the pit speed that these crews have and stuff. Abnormally distributed is a good source for seeing where people rank in pit stuff. It saves me time. I don't have to waste hours upon doing that. He's what I primarily use or primarily go to for pit data, so I don't have to do it myself. Let's see, what else is going on. I mean, that's mainly like the gist of it. If you're starting from scratch, you have the lap averages URL from practice. And yet again, I use this example for the championship race at Phoenix. But you can do that for every single race for all 3 series. But you have the lap averages from practice. If you're pulling the live feed in your scraper or whatever you're doing, you have the lap by lap data in practice or from practice itself. You then have the lap times URL that has the running position, average speed, so on and so forth for every individual driver. So you can very easily pull your own stuff or do your own stuff with that. I mean, I do believe that's mainly like the, beginner's guide or beginner's walkthrough on like what data you can use or how do you pull data, or because people are always asking me like, hey, how do you pull the data? Teach me how to pull the data. Teach me how to do this. And I'm like, well, one, it's very time consuming to start. 2, I've already had numerous people help me out and just build me stuff in R or build me scrapers and stuff like that. So like this is like, I don't know, not rudimentary, or heck, maybe the word is archaic of going through and manually doing all this stuff, but maybe you just don't know how to do it and you want to do it for fun or you want a starting point or whatever. That's what I do. I think win the race, despite the fact that pretty much they've all blocked me outside of Joe. Great data source or great place to locate NASCAR data. I'm assuming that the membership is just as good. I just can't justify buying it because if you're going to block me, I'm not going to buy it. But like good data source. If you look at the NASCAR, DFS contest, win the race, Schroeder, Run Pure Sports, and then our guys, really. And I even include, the adjacent, Sterling group with, Rattle Cage, like that group of individuals and stuff. Like, I would argue that those are probably, including TrueDFS, Win the Race, Speed Geeks with Schroeder, Rattle Cage, TrueDFS, like all the guys there. I think that would kind of, and Run Pure, like those are the guys who are pretty much competing to win these contests week in and week out. I think I can say that as somebody who's at least solo taken down a contest, at least one NASCAR contest for the last 3 years straight, which that is a very, very difficult thing to do, so at least I can say that. But yeah, if you want to pull data or do it yourself and stuff like that, I think this is, basically the walkthrough. What else? I do believe that's it for pulling data. I know this is very long. Maybe it wasn't interesting, but I was walking through everything, and hopefully this helps you out. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for sticking around and listening, and hopefully this helps you in some more fashion, or maybe it didn't. Or maybe it showed you like, hey, man, this is a lot of work. I now understand why a lot of people don't do it. I now understand why some of it is paywalled or some people get paid to do this and stuff like that. You just get to see kind of how the sausage is made or how the chicken nugget is morphed into the dino shape, whatever the case may be. Thank you for being here, and hopefully this helped you out. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.